All right, let's see. Are we actually live now? Holy crap. It may have worked. We lost a camera in the process. Well, hopefully that will come back for us. Boy, if it's not one thing, it's another, right? Let's I'm just gonna change this to 1 and reset. Give it a moment. Now, I am totally expecting that to come back up. But it seems like our stream is at least healthy right now. It looks like someone hit our hardwire running between running to the shop. So that is something I will have to dig up and replace, I guess. $328 feet of cable that I have no idea where the break is. But someone ran one of those aerating machines over the buried path. So we'll see. I don't know. Yet another fun thing to deal with. Let's get this thing off. At least I've got a green light on our streaming for the moment. So and a wonderful echo apparently, but I'll turn that off in a few minutes. Let me get the forge lit. Get back to dealing with what we want to deal with. Yeah, Jeff, I'm talking to myself again. I started this. I started the stream only to find out that someone severed our wired connection between the fiber connection in the shop. So there's 328 feet of cable that, needs to be checked or replaced or spliced, or I have no idea. But so I started the stream and then it dropped on me. I noticed that it went to red over there. So unless somebody has a great way of streaming, 1 gig internet over a large distance, relatively well, with all the parts I already have. Oh, I'm glad that it's working fine now. So, but I think I have 2 other stream fragments that all have the same title today. So I'll go back and redo all that stuff. Still don't know why the Anvil camera is not coming up. Let me just check the IP. Ah. See if I'm even on the right camera. No, I'm not. Okay, it's live. Taking forever to load, but that's what pisses me off. Everything was just working. It's not like I changed anything. Oh, let's just restart the device. Yeah, I started. The first stream was working great for about 5 minutes, and then I just noticed that it started skipping and slowing down, and let's make sure this thing is showing me error codes. Great. Do they have a light glowing? No, we do not. Okay, now it's back. So we'll see. Meanwhile, our steel is heating up. Again, I'm doing a recurve knife. We've got exactly 8 inches of steel, and I'm going to be taking about an inch or an inch and a quarter of that and forging down a hidden tang for this knife. I guarantee you this camera is not, well, maybe it is. I can hear it physically resetting. Oh well, I don't have time to deal with that. I've got a knife to make. But yeah, we're going to do a recurve style knife. Also, very similar to like what a bolo would be, except bolos are larger knives. This is going to be in kind of the same shape. Just a little bit more diminutive. Okay. Oh look, now the camera's moving. That's a good thing, right? Still not connecting. I tried turning it off and turning it back on again. Oh, wait. Okay, let me just check the IP address on the stream camera. Change the IP from 21 to 31. And possibly in a minute here, it will go ahead and pop back up. As though it's always been working. What? Just like that. Yay, cool. Now I can actually start working. So what I'm going to do is, the very first thing I'm doing is I'm actually going to set down the end. I want to isolate the material that's going to be, that I'm going to be using for the tang. And then we know exactly how much we have left over for the blade itself. And I know I had another pair of blade tongs out, and I probably set them down in some stupid place when all this stupid network stuff started happening. Yes, I did. Right here. So I'm going to use a guillotine tool to go ahead and isolate this little bit right here. So I'm not sure if that shows up very well, but get a little closer there. I'm essentially just necking this down. Now I know all the material that is going to be used for the tang. Oh, nice. You're working on a hammer rack. You're using a gas forge, right, Jeff? Or are you using a coal forge? Good news is that with the whole streaming thing, even though I took last week off, this coming week, or this week, Nate should be up here on Thursday, I believe. So get to do some fun streaming then. Yeah, Jeff, just make sure your hammers don't catch fire. You know, that'd be a bad thing. I keep mine. I've got this stupid little table with a heavy base that I don't even remember where all the parts came from, but you know, it was all stuff from the junkyard, I'm sure. But it's essentially a 2.5 foot long or wide table by about 14 inches deep, and then there's a hammer, like a whole nother row of half-inch round stock all around it, and it just allows me to put all my hammers into there with the handle sticking straight down. And that sits off on the side of the forge, and then all my tongs hang right here in front of the. Well, it's not all my tongs, but it's all the tongs that I use on a very frequent basis. Live on the front of the coal forge. Now, I don't want to take this down too much to start off with. I really just want to know what's blade and what's handle. So that should be enough material there, necked out. So how did your coal forge work, Jeff? You like it? And I'll just ignore the fact that you said spike knife. I think you know how I feel about using railroad spikes as knives. There's only one guy that does it right, and that's Andy Alm. But you know, he's actually forge welding a high carbon steel into his spikes, and the spike is just kind of there to give the look. So I've got a little bit of a twist in this. I want to take that out. Just going to start drawing down my point. Jeff, those are really nice when you're just, you know, even for production. I know a lot of guys that really like them because they can actually leave pieces, you know, almost in the fire without pulling them completely out. And as long as you're not supplying air to it, you know, it shouldn't, in theory, it shouldn't be burning pieces away. So I think I want to move this just a little bit. Let's see if we can find a better position for it. Just so this camera, our main camera, can actually see it better. Because that one's now mounted on a super grip mount up on the, you know, up in the ceiling, and it's a permanent camera. So yeah, they make good letter openers, and I get that they're good practice for forging. It just really annoys me when somebody says, you know, this is a great knife, when I know that there's not enough carbon content in there to hold a good edge. You know, it's not something you can rely on. And then I really love the guys who are like, they say things like, "Well, I case hardened it." Oh, case hardening is only a few microns thick, so what happens when you resharpen that knife? I guess they're gone. I might actually have to turn the fan on, even though it's in the 50s outside, but it's no longer in the 50s in here. Thanks to our several restarts today. But yeah, it was a great weekend. I had 3 guys in here doing a Damascus class. I wish I would have been able to stream it, but the one guy didn't seem like he wanted to be broadcast over the internet. First knife and all, I get it. The pressure of other people watching you, and it's live streaming. It's not recording something and taking the best cuts of what you want. It's in real life. It's raw. It's dirty. When you screw up, people see you screw up. I just want to clean up that point just a little bit. I didn't have much fish lipping on there, so there's really only about 3/16 of an inch of that that's a little ugly. That's going to have to be thrown away, on the grinder. But before I go any further, I want to just make sure that I'm a nice consistent thickness here. So I'm just going to do a quick pass under the power hammer because everyone knows how much I love to use the power hammer to make sure everything's uniform. Yeah, Jeff, you know me, I am not the most politically correct person in the world. There are certain things that I have to catch myself from saying just because this is a forging show. I don't want to get into politics. Although we get into politics enough here at the shop. But that's when the cameras aren't rolling. I'm a blacksmith. I'm not here to give my opinions on politics. I wish that some celebrities. would realize that they're just freaking actors. They're just pretty faces. And they're not there to give opinions on politics either. There we go. Now it wasn't much. I just wanted to hit it a couple of times just to make sure that we're all at that starting thickness. Now, because it's a bolo, I've got a recurve style blade. I'm going for a heavier point on this. One of my students this weekend did a beautiful kukri. I'll be posting it up to Instagram later on today. I was going to last night, but I was just too tired after 3 days of class, and I pretty much went directly to bed and crawled out about 7:45 this morning. It's nice to get to bed early last night. But yeah, he did a really nice kukri. I was like, I haven't done a recurve style in a while, and I was actually thinking about doing a Damascus kukri later on this week or maybe next week. But if I do it, I may I'm really debating. I know in Nepal using things like leaf springs and stuff is really really common, and I kind of want to do something a little primitive. I don't know. I'm debating because I'm also not a huge fan of I'm not a fan of junkyard seals at all. So I'm going to take the last half of this and I'm going to just start sawing this out wider. But yeah, when you talk about, putting people on, on a live stream, on air, completely live for the very first time, doing something they've never done, I get the apprehension. You screw up, there's a recording of it that's going to live indefinitely. So I say live streaming is not for everybody. Sometimes it really helps to be able to go back and edit your stream or your recording. So I'm just working on the very last half of this blade. Because that's the area that I want to be widest. like, don't get me wrong, Jeff. I think it's, if you have the time, I guess it's cool to use it if you know what to look for. When steel is failing, look at the early warning signs. Once you know what those early warning signs are and can readily identify them as you're hammering. But I don't know that I would make a knife for sale. Hi, Za, how you doing? Welcome. I don't think we've had anyone from Indonesia on the stream yet. Waiting for one of our guys from Denmark or Germany to pop in, but so for the last half, just based on the style of knife that I'm doing, I'm gonna just forge really light, and I had a hammer out when I first started the stream. The first version of the stream today, not the second, and this is the third iteration. Now I'm just looking. Ah, there it is. Ah. But for this, the half closest to the tang, because I am going recurve, I don't want to stretch that material out so much. I want to give myself a little bit of width to play with, so I don't make it too narrow when I grind it down. But I just want to lightly put those bevels in. I am dealing with the San Mai that I made a week ago. So I want to get a little bit of variation as it transitions from nickel steel into high carbon steel. So, because straight lines would just be boring. So Zot, do you forge, or are you just interested in it? Curious. Got a lot of guys that make knives that tune in. Not that many that don't now I think about it. then again, when you look at the 3,000 subscribers I have on YouTube, I think most of them are knife makers. So I've got a little bit of a bow here. I just want to address that before I really move on. And Jeff, what you said about coil springs, they are awesome for punches and chisels. Especially when I have a couple of them just laying around here in various places, some stretched out, some still in coils. But when you need that one-off punch or a quick chisel for something that's in an odd shape, it's great to just nail one out and there you go. I wish I knew what happened to half the chisels and punches I've made over the years. Most of them were not worth holding on to. I'm sure there's a fair amount that have gotten welded onto the end of a billet before making a billet of Damascus. Okay. I just want to go back and right at the that ricasso area, I'm going to widen that a little bit. I'm going to start a bevel there. Essentially what we have is we've got the front bevel that goes into essentially our starting thickness of steel, but it distal tapers into that, and then basically a third of the last half I'm gonna pull a little bit of a bevel down on that just to widen up that area where it's transitioning into the handle. I used to do ram's heads out of railroad spikes, believe it or not, Jeff. Done bear heads, ram's heads. I guess that was one thing that was really cool to forge out of those. And I have a buddy of mine that keeps on telling me I should be doing more of that stuff like I used to. I mean, ram's head, bear's heads, horse heads, dragons, forging all that stuff out. And I mean, I've used them for various projects on the end of a knife, or made a warhammer one time with a dragon's head on the other side of it. That was pretty cool. Technically, I guess it was not a warhammer; it was a footman's hammer. But still, whatever. That was probably 10, 12 years ago. So I think I know who bought that, but so we've got our shape going. Oh, that's Discord that keeps on giving me messages. I don't think, yeah, wall hooks are always good with the Ram says. I don't think Nate's going to pop into the Discord. Of course, I'll say that, and then he will. I don't think I even have it on. Oh, I do have it on. We'll put it up just so Nate can scare the hell out of me. So we've got a nice overall shape here for our recurve. It's kind of hard to see with it glowing so much. But I'm just going to start drawing this tang down. Before I get too carried away with the power hammer, I'm just going to switch over to my French peen, and I'm going to just start drawing this tang down by hand. I did something for a customer probably about 15 years ago. That was a split cross. Now that you mention it, and he had me buy a meteorite, and I bought it because I knew what content I was looking for. But I took the meteorite and I forged that down into a bar, and then I cut it and did my split cross, and I still had a little sliver of the meteorite left. So I took the raw meteorite, and in that diamond portion, I brazed from the backside. I brazed the rough meteorite peeking out through the split cross, and his wife still wears that to this day. I have a draw knife. This is one of the first draw knives I ever made. I still use it for shaping hammer handles and stuff. You can see it on the anvil cab. And that's just out of a piece of 01 drill rod. But it is razor sharp, and Works like you wouldn't believe. Hey, Jurgen, how you doing? Okay. Get a little bit more control drawing that tang down by hand than with the power hammer. Doing good. Doing very good. It's a nice, cool day here in Pennsylvania. It's only in the 50s, and so it makes for a wonderful afternoon to be in the shop. So I'm just going to start tapering that hidden tang out. My goal is if I get done early enough to go out hunting this afternoon. So. AKA, just take my shotgun for a walk. So I'm going to use that peen for what it's meant for. Just to isolate out a little bit of stock. Yeah, a draw knife is invaluable if you're making bows. I mean, there's a learning curve to using them. It's not just like it's not like whittling down a piece of wood, and you can really screw up a piece of wood with a draw knife very fast. But like all my hammer handles. This was all done with a draw knife, and I got that nice octagonal shape to it. All right, Jeff, you have a great afternoon, brother. Thanks for stopping by and keeping me company. So now I'm going to go back over to the power hammer. I'm just going to finish drawing this tang out. A little bit more yet. I want to take it a little narrower than what it is. And we use a lot of Osage orange here for bows. Works very, very nicely. Let's take it a little narrower yet. I have a really good friend who is a bower, and that's well, both him and his dad, are bowers, and they just, I mean, the Osage I think is probably one of their favorites to use. They make the big English longbows. It's just kind of cool because you don't see too many people making those anymore. Okay, so I'm almost done with roughing this out. I just want to give a finishing pass here on the hammer. But to do that, I need the right pair of tongs in order to grab this tang. Yeah, I don't know what we call it here. But I'm fairly sure in the United States we do not call it by that name. Okay, you're using a J. It's actually spelled with a Y. Because Jew is a Jewish person, And yew is the type of wood. So there we go. That's out of that 8-inch piece of San Mai. And where did I put the? That's okay. We understand. You don't speak English all the time, but you do a great job at it. You speak English better than most people in this country. You don't speak English all the time, but you do a great job at it. You speak English better than most people in this country. So far we're at 11.5 inches overall, which is going to give us about an 8-inch blade. So far we're at 11.5 inches overall. Might be more like 7 3/4 by the time it's all said and done. I want to give one more pass on the power hammer. Might be more like 7 3/4 by the time it's all said and done. I want to give one more pass on the power hammer. And I need to look. I may want to take the tang and push it up a little higher towards the spine of the knife. But that's not too difficult to do. Right now, it's a little north of center, but I think it could be a little further north. So let's do that finishing pass on the hammer. Perfect. For the length of this blade, it is going to be so lightweight and comfortable. That I did not know. You know, there's a lot of useful plants out there. Should probably be looking at more of them. So I have a diagonal peen hammer that I'm going to try to move this tang a little further north. And it's not much. I mean, if it doesn't want to move without deforming the rest of the blade, I'll be okay with it. I'll live with it. But I'd really like it about 1/8 of an inch higher up than it is. I think one more pass there. Let me try it. I'm gonna try it a slightly different way. I think that worked pretty well. That's close enough for me. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but I'm gonna give one more pass just on the tail end there, just that tang. Give one more pass on the power hammer, and then I'm gonna let it cool down. So before it cools completely, checking it for straightness. And you can see there in the anvil cam, it's nice and straight. Just knock a little of this scale off just so I can see what's going on in the edge here. Make sure you don't have any wavy lines or anything like that. Now that looks pretty good as well. So that's the edge side. And that's our spine side. I realize not everything shows up the same way that I see it here, but now I'm just kind of using the hammer to just knock some of that scale off. So as soon as this cools down, I'm actually going to take it over to the grinder here, and I'm going to grind it out. I'm going to keep the live stream going today. I took some time off last week, so I figure I might as well make a full week of streaming. But even though that's hot, I can still go in here. I'm just going to use my straight edge or my carpenter square to mark some of this out with some chalk. Just give me an idea. This way I have a reference when I clean up that area on the tang. I'm even going to leave the forge run. Because I know it's not going to take me very long to clean this up. I can touch it now with my hand. I'm not saying it's absolutely cool, but I know it's cold enough. I know it's cold enough that I can go ahead and finish off the rest of the way here in the water. So I'm going to start, clean up my shoulders here. Of course, I cleaned off all the chalk, but I got the one shoulder how I want it. Now I can actually, I'm going to use a marker. Oh wait, I have soapstone here. Of course, it would help if I put it on the right side. Now I'm just going to do my profile. Get that slight recurve in there. Clean up the spine. Now I'm just working the point. I'm looking for a slightly different transition than what I have on here already. I don't know if it's easy enough for you to see, but I just want to change this up a little bit. But first I'm going to flatten the spine. Go a little flatter on that. A little more, but I think that's going to give me what I want. Perfect. And I'll just finish pulling that point up. Now I'm just going to clean up the surface. And our knife will be good to go. And just grab a fresh belt here. It's not that the zirconia belt I was using wasn't good, but I just want to blast through this scale really quick. I'll take too much time with it. Much better. Good enough for what we're doing right now. I'm just checking the very tip of the knife and making sure we have a good even finish. I just don't want any deep hammer marks in here. That would make it more of a pain later on. I do see an area. I need to readdress this tip. I just don't like the way it looks. And it's just the nature of the very end of that billet that I was using. So our knife got about 1/4 of an inch shorter. Fine, it's giving it a nice look. Cool. So, clean up our tang. Cool. Now I just want to go ahead and bevel it. And I'm just freehanding this. I've never had any luck with jigs. I've just, I taught myself how to bevel freehand, and that's the way you do it. And here, for this particular knife, I'm really just looking for a consistency of thickness prior to heat treat. Maybe I should turn the light on there. That might help. Good. Take some of those hard edges off the tang. I don't need them. I want to get some of my deeper scratches out. Just because after heat treat, it's going to be a lot easier to get those scratches out if I do it now. With the San Mai, I'm going to be more concerned about how my transition looks. And that's enough work. Got a little bit of a deep hammer mark here. See if I can address that. Okay. That looks pretty good. A little bit of a reverse swell there, which is nice. We'll straighten it all out after I go ahead and stamp it. But just to give you an idea, this is what we just forged out. I don't know how easy it is to see that there. But just some quick grinds on there, brought it down to a nice consistent edge. Now I can go ahead and start the heat treating process, but first I need to mark it. So it's 208. Not bad for starting at 12, stopping at 12:20, restarting at 12:30, stopping again, and then restarting again at 12:45. So at least the stream has stayed healthy. But I definitely need to replace. I need to replace a whole Ethernet cable outside, running from the fiber to the shop. So let's see what we got here. Got my blade tongs, got hammer. Let's go ahead and stamp this. Good, nice clean mark. Now I just want to check it for straightness before I start the normalization process. And just one little bit towards the tip that I see can be addressed. Put these two hammers away. Don't think I'll need them. It's amazing how a little tap is all you need to correct those issues. It's good enough for me. Just double checking it. Gotta allow it to soak for a minute or two. That's looking pretty nice. Take a picture of that and send it to the client. Even though, who knows, they could be watching it live and just not saying anything. Back into the heat. Yeah, the blade on this is not the biggest not the biggest part of the project. It's actually going to be doing this hidden tang the handle for it. Got a little bit of flux on the very tip here. Make sure that's also a good solid hold. Where is... I have a better brush for this floating around here somewhere. That I can blame on my students, because they were the ones using it last. So I clean that. I'll look for it. Well, oh, there it is. What do you mean you actually got me from your shop? Mean you can hit your Wi-Fi signal? Is that what you're saying? My goal is to eventually broadcast myself into every blacksmith shop in America. Oh yeah, of course. It's amazing how far technology's come. So there we go. I'm looking at how it's cooling down. It's telling me where the mass actually is on that knife. And it's where I want it, so that's a good thing. I think that'll work. Now's the time for being critical of your own work. Guess if I had any doubts, make sure there's nothing here on the press. Make sure the surface is nice and clean. Just to say I did. Get a little bit of heat on here. I don't need to go full hot. I'm not trying to manipulate the steel that much. Okay, well, this is it. I've got some bronze that I may end up taking into the other room. I don't have a camera in there, but I've got a what we call a desktop mill, and I may end up milling. I'd like to mill a ferrule for this. Making sure I don't have anything on the end there. We were doing a lot of forge welding this weekend, so I know there's residual borax on the floor of the forge. But I don't want anything that's going to hold any sort of heat. Okay. Let's make sure our heat treat was good. Get rid of that glove. Look straight. Pretty good on the edge. I think I will be happy with that. Just cleaning some of that scale off. Well, I can always grind it perfect, right? I'm just kidding. It looks great. So give the heat treat oven a few minutes to boot up. Cool. So I have this set up as this was stream 2 of 4, mainly because last weekend or the weekend before last, I actually forged out the billet, and I think how it's going to work is doing the whole. I mean, the polishing and stuff like that. That's one thing. And I may do that off camera and probably do a big open it up as a Q&A kind of session. Not that these are not Q&As, but open it up as a Q&A session as I do the handle on this. I'm just trying to figure out what days I'm going to be doing that. I may break it down to Wednesday and Thursday of this week. I have to look at my schedule a little bit better, and also look at the weather forecast because I do want to go out and do a little bit of small game hunting before archery opens. And then, of course, when archery opens, I'll be out my stand. But I normally come in around noon anyway, so that'll just start the whole streaming thing a little later on in the afternoon, probably 1:30, 2 o'clock, or whenever it is that I finish up with lunch. Unless, of course, I get a deer, and then I'm gonna have to hang it, string it. So we'll see. But and God knows the weather's too warm for me to just hang it for a while. Unfortunately, I'll have to butcher it within just a few hours of harvesting. So, but we'll tackle that if and when it happens. So let's get this. Our grades are 1095. Make sure I hit the right program on here. Very cool. So we got the custom knife done, or at least forged, and it is finishing up with the forged ground and heat treated. It's finishing up in the tempering oven now, so that'll be ready to go. I'll be ready to go later tonight, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna. Like I said, I'm probably just gonna work on that off camera. Maybe I'll do a 2.5 stream of just finishing that up. But the handle is going to be very complicated on this, as far as compared to doing a normal full tang handle. Uh, I'm looking at multiple pieces of wood all brought together to make something interesting. So if that's the case, if I go that route, I'm gonna look around after I'm done streaming. Oh, here, Jurgen, I will. Let me go to the right Instagram. Oh, let me edit that picture. The only thing I hate, my iPhone now does this whole. It doesn't always rotate the picture right. It was after a software update where now it became much more difficult to rotate a picture. Let's put the starting billet in there as well. Multiple pictures. 1095. 15. 20. All right. The usual tags. Knives. And today's there you go, Jurgen. It is up on the Underhill Forge Instagram page. Now I need to go back and do all the student pictures from this weekend. I had 3 students and they did 4 knives over it, so that was kind of cool. One of them just had a little extra steel, and we made a very small knife that really similar to a Japanese kiridashi, but it's much pointier. Kind of looks like something you might find in a on the TV show Oz, I guess. It's pretty cool. And it's all Damascus, which was just kind of neat. We called it the bonus knife because he didn't need the whole thing for the project that he was doing. Although he could have used it. So. But yeah, later on this week, as far as I know, Nate, our resident leather wizard, is going to be up here finally for the very first time from Jersey. It seems like we're actually, as of this week, we're getting back to business again, which is good because he keeps everything organized and I know what the hell is going on. It's only been since mid-February that since he's been up here. So, wow, couple of months. But I look forward to doing some live streams with Leatherwork as well. I think that'll be really cool, and get to see some of the tooling work in action. And then we can have some more open Q&As as far as everything that goes along with knife making. So. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Jurgen, I got that up there, so look forward to seeing what you think. And I'll be back. Definitely be back tomorrow. Who knows? Like I said, I may throw a stream up tonight just to follow along with the grinding. Maybe I'll move some cameras around, get something behind the grinder that I'm gonna be using, and I'm going to take a few minutes before I walk out of the shop here and select the wood for those handles. So I want something really nice, and maybe by this evening I'll actually have an idea as to what's going on with those. I've got the piece of brass picked out for the ferrule. I'll just have to mill that and slot it. But I don't know. Otherwise, it's an exciting knife to make, and gonna have some fun with it. That's for sure. So again, thanks again, guys, for watching. Thanks for sticking through all of our technical issues this week. And I'll see you real soon. So bye for now.
right. They watched out. Have not. Lose 500. We do not stop. When you reach lose 500. We do not stop. When you reach
What about Bill?
you do not find good man right. They watched out. Have not. They're dead.
What about Bill?
You do not find good man right. They watched out. Have not. They're dead.
Just
Kind of.
in a minute.
You do not find
You do not know Bill. What about in a minute?
have
What about Bill? Things are now in motion.
we do not.
You do not know pain. You do not know Bill.
I'm gonna.
Just Tetris.
That's time.
In a minute.
You do not find
Just he's through down my enemy.
have
What about Bill? Things are now in motion.
we do not.
You do not know pain. You do not know Bill.
I'm gonna.
Just
You do not find
you do not know Bill. What about in a minute?